Hey, Mike here. So I have been spending most of the day today looking at what kind of LLM is best suited for Obsidian. Now, I have been testing a lot of them, as you can see. Out of all of these models, there is one that fits all of my criteria, and that is this one, Mistral Instruct version 0.2. Apart from having a very high max context length, the way it has answered my testing questions here is by far the best out of all of the models that I've tested. Now, before I go over the results here, as you can see them on the right-hand side, I do want to preface this with, this is the first ever test that I have ever done. I'm not using any type of industry standard testing here. This is something that I have come up with myself, and I will be iterating on it frequently in the future. We have a few sections here. We have accuracy testing, relevance testing, common queries, complex tasks, Obsidian-specific queries, and then of course we have the testing answers, which will be shown on the right-hand side so we can follow along as we go through this. Now stay tuned because of course, right after I show you these test results and why this is such a great model, I will show you how to set it up, including the prompt, basically everything from scratch, all right locally in your Obsidian without the need for any internet connection, except to download the model, of course. I'm not going to read all of these question-answer pairs. You can pause if you're interested in how the LLM responded, but I will tell you that they are, for the most part, correct. When we get into the more complex task questions, such as creating a Python script, it does do that poorly because this is not a coding model. This is just a typical Mistral model, Mistral Instruct to be more specific. But I'm not looking for a coding model. I'm looking for something that is able to take direction and give me results. When it comes to the Obsidian-specific answers, let's go to that little section here. How do I use the Daily Notes plugin? And here the answer is install it from Obsidian, blah, blah, blah. So I checked all of these, and again, for the most part, they are correct. So with that all being said, let me show you how it generates in real time. And we're not going to just generate any typical text here. What we're going to do is actually utilize a template. So we're going to do the /rel because I want to generate relative links here. Let's just turn off Wi-Fi so that we can see that this is totally local on-machine text generation. Before we run the relations command here, we do want to start the server up. The most important things to check before you do start the server is that you have the correct preset loaded in this case, Mistral Instruct. The correct model, of course, this is just the 7B model, and truly, I'm surprised that a 7B model is better than a 13B model, but it really does depend on how it's trained, on what kind of data sets we're talking about. And as I mentioned, this has a huge context window. So we're able to feed it multiple pages, multiple notes, and it's able to take all of that data in and then generate off of it. Usually what you'll see as a context window is maybe 2,000, if you're lucky, 8,000, but 32K, that's more than enough for so many situations. Unless you're trying to analyze an entire book, then everything else I can think of will fit comfortably within a 32K context window. The beauty of presets is that you could just download the JSON file. Let me show you my config presets here. So as you can see, it's just a bunch of preset.json files. I will have this on my website. It's going to be in the latest blog post. You'll be able to either download it or just copy it if you'd like, pop it straight into this folder, and you will have access to it right off the bat. In some cases, you might have it installed already. Anyway, make sure that your server is started up. Now, I'm going to assume that you didn't do any other setup here. So let's go into settings, all the way down to the text generator plugin. Make sure you have downloaded that from the community plugins. Let's go into text generator here. And for the LLM provider, make sure that it's custom. As for the endpoint, this is my personal endpoint. You can find that endpoint either here in the console, but especially given this server port that you have, whatever it says here, that's what it's going to be for you. Everything else should pretty much be left untouched, at least for now. Again, I'm going to really dive into all of these settings in a future video. I just wanted to make sure that we started things off with a good model, and then we can go from there. The only other thing that you maybe need is this API key. So this API key, even though it says not dash needed, I believe you still need to put that in here just so that you have this authorization taken care of. So once all of that is done, you can exit out and let's try this very specific generation. So /rel. Again, all of these are my custom templates that you can get from my website / my GitHub. Anyway, let's get to the generation part. So we're going to click it and then generate. And the first time that it's processing this, it's going to take a little bit of time to load the model into the RAM. So if we go back to our LM Studio here, you can see that we are loading up on the RAM here. And so the first time that you do generate locally on your machine, it's going to take a little bit of extra time. But once it's loaded up, let's go back over here, and here we go. It is starting to generate the relations here, and it has generated them in the exact format that I've specified within the template. This is the prompt template that we just generated from. I give the LLM a high quality generation example, and as you can see, it has generated exactly as I have specified it to. Let's throw in one more example here. Let's generate a wiki and see what the results will be. Now, while it's taking some time to process here, I want you to understand that generating a wiki from this specific text, I don't think the results will be too high quality, just because it's a very awkward piece of text to generate a wiki from. But I am curious to see what the result will be here. Okay, so it has started generating here, and this is the wiki that it's coming up with. It seems that what it's doing is it's taking the question, I guess I can't scroll up while it's producing, but it's taken the question and then written the answer underneath it. And I'm going to guess that it's going to do this for every single question and answer pair. Now, whether this is a good wiki or not, I'd like to remind you that it's an awkward piece of text to generate a wiki from in the first place. So I think this is much better than what I expected, to be quite frank with you. If we were to look at the outline here of what it's generating, you can see that as the LLM is producing, for example, a header 3, it becomes a header 3 over here. Everything else, for the most part, looks pretty spot on. I'm going to stop it here by running stop stream. So this is a nice thing to know if you don't want it to continue streaming. Instead of stopping your server, you can just stop the stream of it. You'll be hit with a little failure here, but that's fine. You can just delete that. Just some closing thoughts for you. When it comes to LLMs, especially on the local level, I don't see them getting to a GPT-4 level of quality and speed anytime soon. There are always going to be certain advantages that a multi-billion-dollar organization such as OpenAI, Microsoft, Google will have when they're able to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on the latest and greatest industry GPUs and processing power. However, I don't think that matters much when it comes to certain aspects of text generation, or any generation for that matter. Given the proper hardware, I think local generation is really starting to replace your very mundane tasks such as formatting, basic inference, data scouring, and organization. The basics, I'd like to call them. These things are becoming easier and higher quality with every new local LLM model released. Trying this out is great experience. Certainly it's fun, at least for myself, but truly I don't think that this is going to replace something such as GPT-4 or even 3.5 for that matter, because of the reasons I just mentioned. I do think, however, learning these skills right now will help you dive much faster into future model releases that will be able to compete, at least for whatever tasks you're trying to do, and you'll be able to change them out whether you are online or offline. We are barely into the infancy of AI. We have to keep that in mind. There's so much more coming. I don't think many of us, if anyone, can fathom what the future holds. Thank you all so much for watching. Special thanks to all of our Patreon members. Have a great rest of the day, and I will see you again tomorrow.